They only won a combined 3 rounds between themselves yesterday, but that's okay because somebody has to win at least 7 today. Japan's last hope does battle with Brazil's eternal upstarts as SCARZ takes on Los in our second game of the day, and even if both teams have already used up their first lives in pursuit of the playoffs, they still have 2 chances remaining, but the price for failure today, falling immediately into the survival best of 3s, is quite a steep price to pay. I'm Jacob, I'm here with Fresh and Laxing. Gentlemen, this is a matchup I think a lot of people probably had on their bingo cards to be in the 0-1, but the fact that they have to face one another is really a problem for both squads.
Yeah, I mean, both these teams 0-1. Not a great start. Maybe we were talking about this a little bit, that maybe, Los, it was maybe a little bit of a decision of, they didn't take DP that serious.
Yeah.
The SCARZ in the G2 game, that to me was one that stuck out the most of, again, SCARZ having all that prep and not applying it in that match.
I think it's worth saying both of these teams absolutely disappointed us, the fans, and themselves yesterday.
Yeah, I think for Los, everyone keeps on saying, oh, eventually they're going to turn into something great. When Cameraman joined the team, you've got Maya, you've got some superstar potential on that roster. Sure, at some point, maybe you'll be able to do that. And SCARZ has been here for their second straight major, so at some point, things have to start clicking for both of these squads. But not the greatest start yesterday, so now we have to start looking for some bright spots. Are there any bright spots for either of these squads that we need to highlight to start?
I mean, there absolutely are. So if we start with Lost One, they have, they ran through play-ins. They looked very good and comfortable through play-ins. However, they had a big reliance on their star player, Maya, through play-ins.
Yeah.
Now, he didn't turn up at all yesterday in the same way that he did in play-ins, and I think that got exposed. So whilst that is a bright spark, Maya can always rebound from that. Los can always rebound from that.
Yep.
They do need to show the foundations underneath that so that if he doesn't have a spectacular day, they still have something to go off of.
And I've said this many times with teams, when you do lose right away, that does put the pressure on you to identify those mistakes, to fix what you need to fix going into those rounds. But you have to do it now, especially when you're so close to possibly being out of this tournament. You get another loss, like Jacob was saying, then you're playing a best of 3, 2 best of 3s actually, and if you lose those, you're done. That's it. And you don't want to go out. And especially being Japan, you're the fighting hope for your region. You want to continue this.
The biggest thing, I think, is mostly everyone already thought that I think SCARZ would have some sort of game plan. They've been on an international stage before. For this Los team, it's been a long time since they had. We hadn't seen these guys all the way since back in SI in Montreal. But for SCARZ to have that game against G2, Lax, you touched on it already. That game wasn't pretty, and it looked like they should have had something prepped for Nighthaven, and instead, that was the first time they ever played it, and they nothing was there.
And that's the problem, is when you have all that prep and you aren't applying it, then what are you doing? Like, what is the work that's being put in? You have to ask yourself that, and then it comes down to, okay, sure, maybe the prep didn't work, but you still can adapt in the game, and we didn't see that. It just looked like you just showed up, you let G2 run over you, and then that's what it was. So I really want to see them specifically. If the strats aren't working, fine. Throw the strat away, but adapt, work with each other, communicate with one another. That's what I want to be seeing from SCARZ specifically.
And I think with regards to Nighthaven specifically, whenever you formulate strats on a map when it's a brand new map in, until you play it, you don't know how your strats are going to hold up, even in scrims, until you've got it in an official. So they got schooled by G2. And one thing that I will say for SCARZ is one of their big win conditions is wreck. 0 kills yesterday.
Yeah.
So when your star player... And they put the investment into him, like BDS put the investment into Shaiko, right? So this guy is a big win condition for their team. And if he's not turned up and he's had a bad day individually, I guess it can only get better because you'd assume he's going to get a kill today. I mean, he didn't yesterday.
You want to assume that. You need to assume that, but you can't always put that hope in one person. It's a 5-man roster. Everyone has to step up. And what we saw yesterday, nobody stepped up, even their star player.
So what I'm hearing is Rec needs to find at least 1 frag, and we need to go to a map that's a known commodity and not something that you kind of have to bring stuff up in the ground up level on, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah, for the most part.
All right, sounds good. I think it's also probably fairly straightforward for both these squads as well. We said it back in the NAL several times. Nobody understands the errors and the issues that a team has more than the team themselves. So at some point, they're going to be able to bring something else out of the woodwork if they haven't already tried something. And the beauty about best of ones in these first couple of rounds is you've got the ability to take a little bit more of those risks. But at some point, in order to avoid being in best of 3 territory, you got to do something special here.
Yeah, I mean, you got to take risks. That's the whole point in being in situations like these. Even if you're changing a strat, just one map, one round, that one round can secure you a win.
I think the one good thing for both of these teams is that it's thick and fast. It's best of 1 territory. They played yesterday, straight back into it today. They don't have time to sit and ponder on the mistakes. It's not like, for example, a week of EUL or NAL, where you start, you play, and then you play in a week later, and you've got to sit on that loss for a whole week. It's just straight back into it. For SCARZ, I think they will have just rode it off, right? This was, we just got this wrong. start again. Well, we've got a best one tomorrow. Don't even think about the G2 game. For Los, probably the same, although there is an added spice of pressure that they are still wanting to try and achieve the top 8 to get SI.
Yeah.
So I would say there's more pressure on Los. But yeah, I think for both of these teams, it's kind of just a wipe the slate clean, forget about yesterday.
Yeah, for the most part, because they only won, it was 3 rounds combined between both of them.
So there's no positives whatsoever, so just forget about it.
There's nothing you can
Genuinely,
take away from both those teams and say, hey, this is what looked good. You just got to wipe it away and say, hey, move past it, focus on this next game.
All right, sounds good. So basically, we just need to be like, hey, this is their actual first matchup. So what is the first map that both of these teams are going to be playing as far as round 2 is concerned? All right, so they are going to a known commodity. That's good.
Yeah, so both of these teams is going to go to Bank. Now, SCARZ have not played Bank in Stage 2. You've got to go back to Copenhagen Majors to find them to play Bank. But it's a map
Again, 6 months ago.
Yeah, but it's very middle of and it's not changed all that much, in fairness. Yeah. It's a very known commodity for them. Their typical kind of Asian Pacific team, especially on the attack, they like the fast, funky stuff. On defense, it's fairly default. And then Los have played it in terms of the LCQs for Brazil. Not the best results. They beat an August team. I can't remember the name of the August team because it's just top of my head now. And then they lost it to Netshoes Miners. So it's kind of like it's a 50-50 map for them inside of Brazil. But very middle of the road, best of 1 map for both of these teams.
The thing that I worry most for Los here in this situation, it is a big map. There is a lot of map coverage. And what we were seeing in that game on console versus DP, they were getting caught off guard. They were getting shot from the back or the side. And this is a big map where you have to be covering those angles and be aware of where you can be shot from. And no doubt with SCARZ, droning in Rec, putting him in positions, they got to be aware of it.
Yeah, they got Los got very exposed to lurks yesterday. And like you say, Bank is huge for lurking. We saw it yesterday, and I know it's a very different game, but we saw in the Bleed game where Tads is just prone in stock against M80. That type of stuff, if SCARZ play into that, it could well happen.
All right, well, the bright spot for both of these teams having pretty abysmal performance yesterday is somebody has to have a really good game today in order to qualify and get to the 1-1 stage when we go into round 3 tomorrow. And on cast for this bad boy, it's Derry and Timothy.
He does listen.
He does have ears. He doesn't just talk at you.
Jacob, sorry to do this. I don't really like my full name.
No, he doesn't. Can you just call him Tim, please? There's
I'm joking. You call me whatever you want.
There's a reason
Jacob.
I call him Tim and have done for years, Jacob. That's really inconsiderate of you. Can't believe you've done this. Here we go, Tim, Bank.
Jacob's going to hate. We've got Jacob who's going to hate throw into us, and Jack Hugh loves it.
Well, she kind of throws the shade before the
Yeah, that's it. The shade is returned by the desk later on.
It felt like a little bit of a shit sandwich yesterday. She's like, I'll throw into my favourite Short Kings. And I was like, which part of this will react to? The favourite part or the Short Kings part?
Well, it also suggests that we're not necessarily her favourites.
Yeah.
It's their favourite short ones.
Exactly. I could say, like, you're my favourite ball person.
Exactly.
Yeah, or my favourite glass.
Doesn't make me your favourite person.
Or my favourite person from Burnley.
That's enough nowadays. that's 3 kicks when I'm already down.
Well, we are short. We're always down, Tim. Down for a good game of Bank as well. As said, loss coming up against SCARZ. Both teams not with the brightest start yesterday. I think Loss especially after a good couple of games that they had during the play-ins. They were completely flat yesterday. Maya, the star player for this team as well, nowhere to be seen really. And on SCARZ' side, we had a couple of moments here and there against G2 on Nighthaven Labs, but outside of that, that was them also being completely run over by G2, who didn't really have to get out of second gear. Hoping for a very different result today, no doubt. Both of these teams want something out of it. Otherwise, it's 0-2, and you're on to your last legs. Your whole run through the playoff stage then needs to be through best of 3s. If you are 0-2, or if you're on 2 losses in general, you're 1 game away from going home, and that game is always a best of 3. It can be a real slog when you start grinding through that, and in case you're wondering why we aren't in game yet, we're just waiting for 1 more player to get in the lobby, but they should be there in just a second or 2.
I'm sure they will be.
I think it's Dash. There he is. Dash is in game. I swear every time I see him, he changes his name, by the way. Yesterday was Dash OW. Today it's just Dash.
Well, I read it yesterday as The Show.
The Show. That was the original name, right?
Yeah.
And we all just call him Dash.
Yeah. Rather than
Dash
OW.
for that.
The Show. Yeah, we'll be getting into this very soon. Bank, I love a bit of Bank. You know I do. It's one of those maps that just feels like you always seem to have a big game on it. It's just a good big game map, is Bank. Plenty of opportunity for different strats. You can turtle it up, you can get out on the roam, you can just get all sorts of different things going on Bank. And I really like it. I'll be interested to see, obviously G2 have been letting the Dorker be through quite frequently. I get a feeling that he'll be getting banned out again here because obviously just helps to stay out on the roam on such a big map.
When we haven't seen a banned away, she has picked up basically every single attacking round, so I'm largely in agreement. It being taken offline could mean there's some more interesting picks to come through in game, but here we are into things. Operator bans first and foremost, with Lost starting on the attacking side, Tim.
We're going to get the operator bans kicked off. We'll see what happens then. SCARZ.
We're not in the live stages yet, you can't do it yet.
Am I not allowed?
No.
It's Monty that's going to be our first attacker ban taken out by SCARZ. Fair enough. Monty push down into server can be difficult to deal with. Good way of brute forcing on.
Or lobby stairs.
Or lobby stairs as well. Plenty of uses for Monty on bank, so that's going to go. Thatcher, okay. Leaves us quite a few options open. We've got the door could be open, so roaming might be a little bit more difficult. We'll see. That's something for us all to keep an eye on as the game progresses. How effective can people be out in the map away from sight?
I wonder if this is trying to force a Kai ban out from at the end here as well, because otherwise Maverick's going to have to get brought along, or as so many teams have fluffed up with them, you're going to have to hope that you're particularly good with the Impact EMP grenade. It's going to be a Castle ban. Now, I love Castle. Every single time he gets picked, I say how much I love that he can transform how a particular site or even a whole map gets played. It can open up corridors for defenders to move through much more safely than if the Castle wasn't there, and just really add some dynamism to particular sites alongside things like the Azami. That's why they're called architects alongside things like Mirror. So with Azami and Castle taken away, this could be a pretty fluid game unless we see Mirror getting brought along a lot. I don't know, I like these bands. I think they're quite different.
So let's get it underway. It's going to be Loss and SCARZ. For me, the question mark is over SCARZ a little bit more than Loss. We've kind of seen a lot of Loss at this point. We had them in phase one. We saw them yesterday. It wasn't quite as good as we might expect from them yesterday. They have shown us better performances than that. SCARZ, obviously, they've only had one coming straight into phase two, and it was a difficult start for them yesterday. So I'm that's why I say for me, the question mark is there on SCARZ. I'm interested to see them today and just to see exactly what they bring. It was never going to be an easy start for them yesterday against G2, of course, but you know, this is now an opportunity for them to get themselves into it, get themselves a win, and get started. So we'll see what SCARZ can do.
Yeah. And just like last game, you're going to see again Solus, Mozzie coming along, anti-information game. Definitely less tight areas on this map compared to Constant like we saw in the game just a moment ago. So not going to be as effective on bank, although Solus will obviously still catch out an absolute shed load of drones. 3 already gone from the Lost Arsenal that they need to be worried about there in terms of the information gathering. Really, the big one, though, has to no doubt come down to one. The Nook that we still see banned away on this map sometimes. Fantastic for a garage lurk late in the round on the attacking side. And also, of course, the Ying being brought along by Dash. Excellent for executes, excellent for clearing different parts of the map. And Logan has got a wonderful view as he begins that lurk down through garage.
Yeah, he knows what's waiting for him. Peon does see the drone in time, though. Rek is going to pick up Maya to kick things off. We're shy onto Dots as well, so a great start from SCARZ so far. I came in saying that the question mark was on them for me. I wanted to see what they were going to be able to do, and, well, question answered. They've got themselves a triple. It's 5v2, and already Lost look like they are out on a limb for the first round.
They are being handed a loss, Tim. Oh, it's terrible. Still, for me, their rep planting his feet just inside off Staff and open and just find 2 kills is one thing. Turning it into a flawless round is a different conversation altogether. I had really high expectations, to be fair, of Lost coming into this, but to be fair, SCARZ, although they started flat yesterday, we've all been saying they've been building themselves up to be one of the top Japanese teams and have shown that really back in Copenhagen. Many got behind them, many neutrals were really backing them to go far, and obviously they had their run stopped at one point or another, but still a lot of promise in this team too, and if Lost don't show them the respect needed, they will find themselves 0-2 inside of playoffs.
Yeah, SCARZ only need to get a couple of wins here. Get a couple of wins and they'll have everybody back on board, you know, backing them. They've shown that they are capable of getting through to those later stages, getting themselves playing in the arena at the end of things, which, of course, is what every team here wants. So they just need an opportunity, and if Loss open the door, I'm sure that SCARZ will be ready to step through it. A flawless round then to kick things off for them. Good start. It was just basically winning every gunfight as they came in the as Lost came in the building. They just SCARZ were right up there in the face. They were just ready for it, and they just beat them on every one of them essentially.
They
10
did.
seconds to go.
Absolutely battered them, Tim, is the only way I can really summarise it. Here we go then. Round 2 is going to be up on our second floor. Bit of a change in terms of style. Lots of information being brought along by SCARZ here. So rather than playing the intel denial game, instead they want to lean into information for their own purposes. So here, looking in towards a couple of shields you can sit and play behind, and obviously scouts out ahead. You've got the yokai drones to play behind, the black eyes on side. Bunch of C4s, 3 of them, which probably means you want to see someone playing in below and looking to make use of that information that should be scattered around the top floor.
Just sending the yokai drone out to keep a watch over the main lobby, because the default cam in there will get shot out if it's not already shot out. It'll get done very, very quickly. Cameraman's going to be sending the Twitch drones in, again looking for that bit of utility, just as well as information at the same time. Sees the
headshot with the Twitch drone doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't. It just sees that somebody's playing outside of stock, though. Information that is important. They know they've got the shield set up there. You know, that's not always the case. And the ping is going out there just to feed that information in as well. With the Ossa just able to play behind that Talon shield on the windows with a little bit of safety. You need to be careful on those windows. You can get hit from inside of sight.
On top of the wall then to keep that electrified off, just in case there's a hard breach pushing through, but I guess really...
That's the risk.
I was
don't know why you'd do that.
He knew Dots was at the long angle, so I thought, okay, it's quite far from the shield there, and he's just learned that maybe it would have been better to place it a little bit closer to his own feet. But alas, it is what it is. Also try and push through here. Pion playing robot wars with the other drones running around the top floor. Just a bit of a war for utility, a war for information rather than anything else, as was Shoy taken down by Lobin, who was the only player to really have a good game yesterday, Tim.
Yeah, going to have another Talon shield just applied to those windows, making it very, very difficult for SCARZ to move around. They may need to consider a little jump out to take the Ossa down. The problem is that with the Ossa being able to play right up onto that window, almost certainly going to see it coming. Still in a phase of trying to get information gathered here, our loss. They're certainly not in any rush to push themselves on into sight. SCARZ are just holding every angle that they can here, but the thing is, every angle is being slowly eroded as Dots goes in, and it looks like he's probably going to think about getting that diffuser down.
Well, he's in. The problem is if he tries to plant here, the crouch position may expose like a leg or something, but Lobin's got him covered. Tire taken out. There's the yokai drone still to worry about here, which is going to frustrate things, at least for a short amount of time. But we've got to see them scramble here and make something happen. They're already running completely out of time. A flawless round in reverse, Tim. We have really got a game on our hands here with how it started.
Yeah, it wasn't much of an opportunity. It was 1v5, but it just goes to show a few shots missed at the end there. It should have been, you know, probably a reasonably straightforward headshot onto the window there to at least give, I won't even say a fighting chance, but a glimmer of hope, I guess. But you might just, you know, something again to keep an eye on is that, you know, the start of things to come. If they're going to be missing the shots, it's not going to bode well for SCARZ. They're up against a team that have got a real good mechanical ability about them, so they're going to get slammed if that's the case. So 1-1 as Loss managed to take a much more convincing second round. Did a great job of creating that space inside of the site, getting in, opportunity to put the diffuser down. It was just, it was good all round from Loss.
It was. And now we go towards Tellers. Don't really see this site all this often, to be fair. Normally it's Staff and Open that is the... I wouldn't even say the tertiary site. It's probably the most dominant site on the map alongside the basement. CEO really being steered away from by a number of teams, you know, for the same reasons arguably the Consulate was just so exposed to those external facing windows that it feels much safer to play down in Staff and Open or down inside of the basement. But here, it is going to be Tellers and Archives with an extension in towards Staff and Open here. Pion with a single reinforcement coming through lets them challenge on towards the copy window. And Fish, well, Fish-like specifically, he could go fishing here to find himself a tasty morsel outside these windows if they aren't careful.
They certainly need to be aware. Taking out the default cam from outside. There's one. Can there be a second? Absolutely not. Maya quickest to react. Cameraman does lose his life, but that's going to leave us at a 4-4. That is, however, the Thermite taken down.
And
if you could choose,
hard breach.
If you could choose one, it certainly would have been Cameraman. A good bit of luck for Fish like there.
Certainly no complaints, yeah. And it's the... You look at that, maybe go, well, you're only 1 for 1, so what's the point? It's more the fact that you remove attackers away when they've got this ideal 5-man setup coming in with given utility, given abilities, given, you know, in the case of Cameraman and the Thermite, the ability to open up key walls that they need open very sorely. That's just simply not going to be an option for them anymore. Maya almost being tagged down here as he charges his way out towards Banana. Player down below, a player, I think, further across as well. Everything really threatening onto the side of Loss here on their attack, and SCARZ really trying to make taking this top floor a challenge for them.
Just sending the Ram Gadget in, creating an awful lot of noise. Wreck does take the little fade away. Too late was the cry as the Movement of Lobin takes him away from the danger zone there as the Nitro is detonator, gets himself through towards Janitor instead. And I tell you what, this has been a clinical top floor clearance coming in from Loss. They've forced the majority away. They are now using those vertical angles. Washoi's taken a load of damage as well, as has Maya though. So certainly blows being rained in on both sides. But right now, SCARZ have pretty much been forced back to side.
I just love the streak across the ceiling that you get whenever Ram's been used as well. Just opens up so much and invites so many gunfights to happen through these horizontally aligned bars. Washoi's got the right idea. There is a player sat just above him in this spot, but I don't think he really 100% knows. And Dash wants to capitalize, sees the man, shots come on through. That's one more taken out from above.
Yeah, well played from Dash there. Washoi was unfortunate. He heard the drone being thrown out, I think it was. So he had a good idea that there was somebody directly ahead above him, but just got a little bit unlucky with his positioning. Obviously couldn't pinpoint it to that degree. Rek is going to be sat watching those marble stairs for anybody coming down, but I would imagine the majority of the push is going to be coming from the main lobby for Loss.
And was supposed to march. Rek falling down as well. It's good round yet again from Lost, playing in steadily and slowly behind this Ossa. Monty taken away by SCARZ. They don't care. They'll just bring along another shield-based operator. One goes down, Tayo. At least has regained control of the top floor, which just presents a little bit of a threat to the attack inside here, but not if they get themselves picked off. Lobin yet again, right place, right time. Lost taking round 3.
Going well. The first round was, it looks like a little bit of a blip. Loss certainly looking more convincing in those couple of rounds, are flawless, and then just very solid top floor control from them there. I think we've already spoken about this in that last game of G2s, just how how dominant you can be when you get above like that, get everything opened up. Certainly something that can't be ignored. So that's going to take us into our next round then. SCARZ, they need to stop this getting away from them essentially at this point. We've seen it in almost every game of the Swiss so far. I think the Dark Zero and FaZe game was probably the outlier yesterday that went to overtime. Other than that, it's been one team being very dominant in the first half generally, and just sort of running away with things and creating a lead that's been too big for them to be reined back in. So SCARZ need to be careful of that.
Well, I did mention without the Kai ban that we might struggle to see them get hatches opened up in the basement, and Lost have responded. They've understood that's the assignment, that they've got to deal with some hatches to get yourself downstairs into the basement in the most effective way. And so they have to switch over to bringing on the Maverick, which I thought they were going to. They've actually stepped away from it entirely, Tim. No hard breach on side, but my God, they've got 6 smokes. What are they planning here? Because this is going to be something a little bit special. They're basically just saying, forget about the hatches. We don't want them opened up. Instead, we're just all about some kind of crazy execute through sewers, through garage, down main stairs. Like, what are they going for?
Fishlight once again up there on that top floor. Got a little bit of joy. Didn't really matter in the end, taking out the hard breach, but did get the kill nonetheless. I don't think he's going to be waiting to spring out of the window, but what he is waiting to do is just keep himself off the radar and have an opportunity on the flank later in the round. So we will keep an eye on Fishlight as things progress and see whether Lost pick him up or not. Don't necessarily need to. For a basement attack, it depends how much you're going to rely on those hatches. If SCARZ,
a hell of a lot.
Yeah, I mean, if SCARZ aren't going to play on the hatches, you can, as Loss, as the attackers, pretty much go direct to site if you choose to. It really does depend whether the defenders are using them or not. Of course, if you can get them as the attackers, it's always a powerful option to have as well.
That's why I said I was curious. Unless they've left them open to play through them,
There's Fishlight,
that's a big mistake. Yes, he was up on the roam, up inside CEO at the very start of the round, and now he's going to slowly pull his way back down. But like I said, if they're looking to ignore the hatches and go direct to site here, those smokes will prove handy, assuming they can keep everyone alive. And sure enough, actually, SCARZ have left a couple of hatches opened up here, instead of just relying on that and looking to play through it. Washoy finds a second. This whole round is already just falling to pieces as Rek just domes Lobin down on the ground. Whatever they had in mind, Tim, it's not worked.
Place the talonate.
Certainly hasn't, and scrambling has not really been, I think, one of Loss's strong suits so far. Where things haven't quite gone their way and they've had to adapt, they've had to move on. The real strength that I've seen from them is when the plan has worked, essentially. So 2 versus 5, not going to be easy. Maya had a quiet day yesterday and looks, could be in danger of the same thing today, and we know how important he is to this team. Manages to pick up one. Can he get himself a second? No, going to be shut down by Washoy on the tight angle. at Beepers. 4 versus 1 now as Dots has no choice but to move up the ramp and try and find something, but those shots are going to give him away.
He's screwed it.
There's absolutely no chance. It moves around, gets caught in the dread mine, and then gets picked up by a wreck, and that's going to be SCARZ leveling things out. 2-2. Looks like this could be one of the closest games that we've had as of yet. As I said, we had that Dark Zero game yesterday against FaZe, but otherwise it's been quite often one-sided. But this one, 2-2, and we're cruising for a split half potentially.
Really thought we had something exciting coming out from Lost there, that they were cooking. Instead, they were trolling a little bit. Tim, even with the hatches being kept open by SCARZ to play through them and threaten from them, they still didn't try and push in and take them, which wouldn't be the end of the world. Like, if you do push into there, sure, you can't open the hatches that have been hard reinforced off, but the ones that have been left open, you can still make use of. But they chose entirely to ignore them, send the Ostrin through Garage entirely solo rather than trying to stack the team up, and Lobin for the longest time was alone inside a server as well. Everyone else being picked off by Wushoy, especially on the Roma thing. He got a 2K in that round. Fishfight got an early one too. Picked apart by the Romas, despite picking a team that wasn't really meant to threaten the second floor or the ground floor. Their whole thing was about lots of smokes, overwhelm the site, flood it, get the plant down, get out. But just never really looked to bring that into effect. So again, not quite sure what the game plan was there. Hopefully this round, much more improved.
Going to be moving into open area this time for the final site of the map. We've seen all 4 from SCARZ. We've seen Teller's Archives top floor previously as well, so this will lock it up. They're going to go for some top floor attention. They've got the barbed wire up there, and I would imagine looking to hold on particularly towards sort of stock, keep that hatch closed, all the direct verticals above site that we would expect. So loss this time, I don't think you can ignore it. Cameraman went looking for them on the top floor last time and came off worse against Fishlike, so I think get some extra numbers up there, commit to the clearance, go in and find them, and get yourself the man advantage.
Well, I like how this is the round that SCARZ has said, let's bring along the Kaid now. As we saw in the last round, they aren't really interested in playing that game against us, so let's just bring it and try and employ it. Now, there are some impact nades on the side, or impact EMPs on the side of Loss in the back pocket of Cameraman. Hasn't always had the best start to round so far, has been picked off in a couple, not been super ideal. So they want to make sure these impact EMPs are being used in exactly the right position. If they don't get a drone in there and figure out where the claws are first, that quad wall is staying closed and looks out towards square.
Dash continuing with the droning. Going to find Wreck, and Maya's going to do something about it. The Oryx is going to be taken down. This is what I wanted to see from Lost. Commit to that clearance, get up there in numbers and find your kills. Dots and Maya have done exactly that with the support of Dash as well. So top floor should now be in the control of Lost. They can start getting those verticals open. There's plenty of time. 1 minute 30 left on the clock. If I have a look at the position of the SCARZ players, there's at least 2 inside a site. There's actually 3 of them now bottled up inside a site, so there is a real opportunity here for Lost to find a few more kills.
Yes. It's about finding them is the problem, right? Sure, you can start off ahead with the one that you found to date, but it's got to be more than that as well. Got to make sure playing out the rest of the round sensibly and making use of the advantage, and that isn't really the idea to do it. One of the benefits of playing Buck is that you can open things up at range. You aren't a sledge, you have to stand on what you want to open. And I know he didn't really have too many places to go, but Dots has just really laid himself out bare there, skeleton key in hand, not aware of any players below, and just gets domed for free through the floor. It's these small mistakes that will make the difference between being a top 8 team and being a bottom 8 team, I think, in playoffs. And again, the difference there is you play on the main stage or you go home in a few days' time.
As I say, 3 of them bottled up now. This is all on Loss to get themselves into sight, to crack the nut, essentially. The 4th is just off to the side, playing around elevators as well. So SCARZ are committed now to this final 30 seconds and holding their angles. Fishlike could be the danger, to be fair. He is playing inside of the elevators on the Valkyrie, and I'm not sure whether Loss are aware of him, and that could be a big flank potential, but he's maybe not going to get the opportunity. It could come from the door of Beepers, though, depending where Loss make the push from. Is going to find a couple of kills. Maya, Lobin will be the ones. Cameraman as well, picking up Fishlike. It's like falling dominoes then. After that first one goes down, everybody follows.
It's a bit of more like an overwhelm and flood the site sort of style. When I saw with 15 seconds to go, we had 2 players just sprinting for what looked like an E-box drop to pushing through kitchen double door. I was a bit nervous. I was like, guys, like, you can't change tack this late in the round. But they bailed on that, and Maya was getting ready to go for a drop and a plant down through stock. However, his team had already flooded the site and got all the kills necessary. So a bit of a smash and grab there. SCARZ looking a bit shell-shocked by that round. Not quite sure what happened.
can see
Loading man, the hero.
Yeah, kills just the thing was Lost pushed them from everywhere. If you might not have noticed it, but just as we were watching the push in there, you could see the silhouette off near elevators, which was cameraman dealing with Fishlike, and they just had a really great read, did Lost, on where everybody was, pushed them all at once. It felt like a real sort of 3-2-1 go kind of push from Lost. Very well coordinated and got a good job done. So that's going to lend us now, lead us rather, into round 6. Going to be our final defensive round for SCARZ. They're going to take that top floor again. If we have a look, we saw them defend it back in round 2. It was a lost win and they didn't go back there afterwards. So a little bit of a gamble here for SCARZ. If they can't get this site locked down, if they can't find the difference, then Lost are going to be getting a 4-2 half. And it was a very good attack from them, if you remember. They had the Ursa up on the windows, managed to get in, create the space. Dots was able to plant. It was just very, very confident from them.
Cheeky, like that being dug on the floor on the ceiling. I think last time around as well, it was Lobin inside a lobby who got a really nice kill onto, I want to say it was Tayu, who was trying to contest from Banana onto the Ossa plant going down just inside the window. And he got rid of the man at exactly the right time, Tayu removed, and that's when the plant could go down, because otherwise the Ossa was in a spot where when she gets into the plant animation, you'd be able to see a heal or a calf or whatever it might be, and it'd be an easy pick off for Tayu. It was more of a very slow grind through SCARZ, picking up 1 kill at a time, here, there, everywhere, before eventually they just had nothing left to resist the plant coming on through.
Cameraman just stealing lots of utility inside of the main lobby, mostly camera-based. He gets himself a vault cam, gets himself a default cam, so it's going to leave SCARZ pretty much blinded on that side of the map. Also manages to spot out Washoy playing underneath, Nitro in hand, so the Valkyrie likely to try and continue playing Intellas and Archives for that potential vertical denial, but having been picked up, needs to think carefully about that, because I'm sure that Lost may look to head on in there and clear him out.
They will do. Again, for me, it's trying to look for that slow grind here to take out these outlier players on the side of SCARZ. You've got Rek hanging around towards Stock here. You've got Washoy hanging up on Marble. You've got a couple playing on side. Pion is out towards Banana. These players are pretty isolated. Not too many of them playing very close together right now. And sure enough, they find Rek, and there is just no response from the other side. No one really able to swing and help out. Tayu's not too far away, but he was a bit too late to this party, Tim.
He was. He's just going to keep holding that angle for the time being. Might get a bit of joy, actually. It's all going to depend on the time of his swing. Absolute beauty onto Maya. Just removes his head, and that could be an important kill for SCARZ. It leaves Tayu in place. Fishlike is in Janitor as well, and it just creates that line of defense that they've got against this potential rappel in.
Joy snaking his way up. Obviously, he's going to expose himself once he breaches on through, but C4 at the ready could maybe catch someone out here if they get into the right sort of position. They hear the bleepers from behind. Sure, they're going to spin here. They see him, but Washoy, he shoots first. Lobin deleted from the server. And a second as well, as cameraman tries to work his way through. There's only 2 players left. There's again, I imagine it would be Tayu, but it's actually Pion who's hanging off and towards Banana this time. They've got an absolute clean up here. SCARZ giving absolutely nothing to Loss in that round.
We did expect that this might be a bit of a closer matchup, as we said, coming into it. But Loss, you've got to say, have made big mistakes there, Des. We've got to call it as we see it and not clearing out. Washoy, they saw him very early on cameraman's drone. They knew that he was playing around main lobby, Archives, Tellers, Square. They've not got him pinned down and dealt with. And guess who comes back to bite you? Washoy in the final stages manages to get a double kill. It just wasn't aggressive enough from Loss in terms of dealing with that player. Had to be taken out and wasn't, and they paid the price.
For me, it was they missed the mid-step. They started out in Stock. They got the clearance there. They got rid of Rek. Great. They know that there's a player inside a Janitor, that there's one inside a long desk, there's one on Banana, and another hanging around on site. Yet, really, their kind of like push forward was coming in from downstairs, and we saw what happened with Washoy. Just completely deleted 2 of them, removed any bite they had in the attack. And the last thing they really had to do was just try and swing in through windows and hope for the very best, in which they're almost guaranteed to get C4 by Washoy, if not for them already being cleaned up by Pion and by Tayu. So they missed out this middle step of trying to establish enough map control that they can make more happen. And truthfully, one player being alone by himself downstairs isn't enough to deal with a would-be roamer. So they've missed that critical step of trying to contain the roamers, make sure all players are stuck on site before they start looking at trying to make an execute happen. Onwards we go then, down into the basement, Tim, for round 7. Obviously do a little side swap here. And SCARZ are wasting no time bringing out the double shield setup, the Blitz and the Ossa coming along here.
Yeah, fortunately for Lost, Cameraman has brought along the Clash, which will make it a little bit easier for them to deal with, such as a Blitz push on Tayu. As we've said, Clash just able to directly confront those shields, deal with them. The electricity does damage them through. So whether it's a Monty, whether it's a Blitz, obviously Monty is banned out here, but even if you're taking those alternatives, the Clash is going to make your life a little bit easier. Tayu looks to get straight down these blue stairs, but he's going to find out very quickly that that path might not be as clear as expected. However, Cameraman's taken a few back steps there, doesn't want to overcommit on the Clash, has now been forced back towards that server corner. Could be easy for them to isolate him here and deal with the Clash.
Oh, I was going to say, he's quite dug in here is the only battle. Nice try, I think, there with the impact coming out of Lobin to try and find him, but that's both now gone. He can put these shields down without concern because the only thing left is a C4, and really, you want to be saving that for plant denial. So great work, I think, by SCARZ to bait out both impacts.
Yeah, the difficulty in dealing with Cameraman is going to be that they've not got any nades on side, so they're a little bit limited for moving that shield from in front of him, but Rek manages to remove Dash as he finds a kill, and that's 5 versus 4. Garage in the hands of SCARZ as well, which is going to start turning Loss's head. There is absolutely no two ways about it.
Go for a drop elsewhere, maybe. I love how Cameraman's got so aggressive here as well, just zapping them both out or trying to at least force them away. And now at this point, with the glass being broken out, perfect. Can't really play behind that comfortably anymore. At the very least, they're going to need to strong arm their way through. Tayu being the charging force may prove to be the answer that they need here. Everything's smoked out, no one can see a thing.
Yeah, Cameraman's playing this really well. At first I thought it was maybe a little bit passive, but just that aggression that he showed there, this was what I was concerned about. You know, the hatch is open, he's in server corner, it may make him easier to deal with, but with the rotation being opened into sight, he's been able to move his way back in, and Cameraman has done a great job of wasting more than 2 minutes.
You got Rek coming up the backside as well. He might find a kill or two for free down here as well. Now they know about his presence, so these other two players are a bit restricted. You kind of got this split 2-2 at the minute set up for Lost coming in. Lobin and Cameraman on the Clash holding off towards the east. The other two trying to stave off anything else. They've got an Ossa coming in on the east side. Cameraman has stepped in close. Shield goes away. He's flashed out. He's taken down. It's a great response by SCARZ into a 4 versus 1, Tim. This one looks done and dusted.
Yep, somehow SCARZ just managing to find the ability to crack that defense open. It was looking so good up to 40 seconds remaining, but Dots, he's going to get flashed out by the blitzer position nobody wants to find themselves in, and that is an easy clean-up at the end there for SCARZ after that diffuser had gone down. And what great explosive power they've just shown there to take the lead 4-3.
I think it was that repositioning where they forced the Clash back enough, you know, constant flashes coming in. Every 10-15 seconds, he was full white screened. And they've repositioned the Ossa through the smoke to get her in towards actual server rather than playing at the bottom of blue, and have managed to get that shield down with enough cover from the team where Lobin can't easily step up. And so no one could stop the plant actually going down. Again, paying the price for making use of those impacts early. And I'm pretty sure the C4 was held off in towards the other side. So they couldn't get inside of Orange to actually get a C4 down onto the Ossa shield. So really well read by SCARZ. Big work being done by, I forget who it was, pushing up through Garage to separate that team in two and deny away that C4 that could have made all the difference.
I think Cameraman maybe just needing a little bit more support on the Clash. One of those operators that is a little bit limited in what they can do sort of in face-to-face encounters. Yes, you want them to slow things down. Yes, you want them to provide information, but you can't allow them to be bullied. They need somebody else's gun working for them, essentially. So this time we're going to be heading to open area. It's going to be that Lost take us to. They are barricading up the main lobby. They're going to have Valkyrie cameras in there as well, so I'm sure Lobin is going to be sort of dipping in and out of there, just looking for those early engagements potentially. Loss, I don't know how to call this really. I look at it and I think it's been so back and forth up to this point. SCARZ do take their first attacking round. If they can get another one here and go 5-3, then as a Lost fan, you know, I'm sure that those sat at home would be concerned about that, because it seems like it could get away from them on the defense. SCARZ for the longest time there didn't really seem like they were going to get the job done, but then out of nowhere managed to secure it. So Lost need to be aware of that.
Absolutely. Well, I knew that the push into the lobby was going to be a thing. Lobin barricaded up that double door, just so they had to break it down and give the indication that the push was beginning. Rek, at the minute, hanging off by himself pretty much entirely out towards the east side on Square. I think he's got a little bit of support from the windows up and towards CEO itself, but I think he was looking and hoping to find someone hanging around White Corridor. Nothing to be found, and also no one playing below for now. Lost just sitting back and waiting.
Rek's been doing a great job so far. He's had some really important kills that have sort of turned the round quite often, either sort of kick-started it or just been at the right time, sort of right place. Washoy is just going to be taking that line of sight all the way down, but at this point there's nobody to be found. SCARZ have got themselves that top floor control. Tayu, time to start swinging that hammer, get some verticals and start making it a little bit more uncomfortable for Loss inside of sight.
Also note how the Habanas here as well, even with the potential to see a Kaid, the impact nades in the back pocket of Rek, looking to help them out with that, even if he's playing isolated off by himself at the moment. Obviously not attacking into the basement where there are, you know, a good few hatches, 4 hatches realistically that you need to get opened up on the top floor. There's only really the one that you have to worry about, at least in this instance. So I can't imagine it's that big a deal if they were to lose it out. It's more trying to look at what they can do with the Ying. For me, the Ying is really going to be the big orchestrator of how this is going to go. Deliberately using only 1 Candela early on to force control of Banana. Not that anyone was hanging around there, but it did force the player in elevators to drop. The rest of them, I imagine, are being saved, ready for a commitment in towards sight as we're into these last 45 seconds. And really, that commitment should come via the hatch.
Going to continue waiting for those opportunities, but Loss are pretty much locked in here. They're not going to overextend. They're not going to offer anything up for free, I don't think, and SCARZ are going to have to take some action. They can't just hold on forever. Oh, here it comes. Dash moves around on the flank, manages to pick up Pion, and that is a big problem potentially now because they have to deal with Dash, but they don't have time. Rek sees his opportunity, will manage to find Lobin, but there is still Dash out there. Candelas go in, and bodies start falling, and they're all in the favour of Loss at the minute. Dots and Cameraman finding 2. Dash onto Washoy, and surely with 7 seconds left to go, this is just going to be too much to ask for SCARZ. The time ticks down. 1 versus 1. Fishlak has an opportunity to put this down, but it's just going to be a case for Cameraman of coming out and mopping up.
Just hide behind the kitchen counter until the time is right, then you strike, Cameraman. That's the way to do it. Close round. The closest I think we've had so far. I was going to comment earlier on that pretty much every single round we've seen at least 3 players being left alive on the winning side, outside of just 1 or 2. So it has been a pretty close affair overall in terms of the scoreline, but rounds themselves have been extremely dominant one way or the other. This round, at least, I think, showing that SCARZ had the right idea, everything was lined up for them, but Loss had a pretty good defense set up on site itself, and they, for playing that turtle style, really got rewarded for it.
This is what we love about Swiss, format in Phase 2. You look at yesterday, quite a few one-sided games. Not really any differentiation between Phase 1 and 2 teams. Some Phase 1 teams had great performances. Some Phase 2 teams had great performances. But one way or another, teams seem to be able to get on top of their opponents. However, we move into Day 2, and already we're on Match 2, and it's getting closer. G2D+ was closer, 7-4. We come into this one, and we're 4-4, we're battling all the way. You just know as each day goes by in a Swiss format tournament that the matches just get tougher and tougher, closer and closer, and all that does for us is throw the entertainment through the roof, and this one is certainly delivering now.
Absolutely. Well, here we go for Tellers and Archives again. We saw it back in that first half, picked up in, I think it was round 3. Has seen, well, assuming we find ourselves going into the top floor at some point in the second half, then both teams will have played all 4 sites on the map, which is showing really where we speak about maps like, think about Nighthaven. Pretty much every site gets played on that map, and normally used to saying only 1 or 2 maps get every site played, but good to see Bank joining those ranks as well.
In goes the Bravo Clutch drone. Going to be grabbing, much the same as Cameraman did, grab that default cam so you can get a little bit of information. Actually a very valuable cam if you're attacking onto Tellers and Archives. It's going to tell you a lot about this main lobby side whilst it's still in your possession. Cameraman currently positioned out in elevators. I'm not sure if they're aware of that or not. Fishlak just grabbing anything shiny and electronic as he passes one after another.
Yum, 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 yum. 3 things taken out on the lobby side of things, certainly can't complain. Again, eyes really fall to the Ying in this round. Follow the Candelas. They seem to be the dictator of where the action is going to happen. So that's one I'm keeping an eye on. No hard breach in back pocket. It's smokes this time around as well. So very much stepping away from that and focusing, it seems for the most part, really on the vertical destruction with Tayu playing on the sledge. Understandably, for this site, you do want that top floor control around CEO meeting to then swing away, open up the downstairs, restrict the defenders, and move forward from there. Rek, once again, they're playing off by himself. He's caught on his crouch walk up through garage. Maya with a good read onto him.
Yeah, he's still got that top floor presence as well. Dots is inside of Janitor at the minute, and Tayu is looking in this position to maybe move forward and clear him out, but Dots ain't going to give you the opportunity. He's not going to come looking for you because he doesn't need to. He's going to stay in there for as long as possible and just keep that hatch. There's going to be a rotation probably underneath it to allow him back into sight as well, so he will need to be forced out of there. Cameraman has just been on the intel pretty much constantly through this round as well. It's, you know, absolutely, he's on the echo, but he's been sat in those elevators for the longest time. Lobin onto Washoy, looking easy for Loss in round 9.
And I think Lobin's got the right idea as well. His instant reactions, am I being pinched? Have I got to watch towards stairs, towards stock, towards anything? And there's just no one really on the side of SCARZ ready to try and capitalize off the back of that. So very much a lone agent there with Shoy in his push towards elevators.
Hello.
I mean, a drop in's a new one for sure. Fishlight makes it happen though.
Fishlight looking for a second as well, knows that there's somebody in behind the barricade getting the red ping. Will manage to do a bit of chip damage, but can't get the kill finalized. 20 seconds left to go. It's Dots to get things started again. The Bravo was taken out. Pion will force a man back down elevators, but this is what has been so key about this Lost defense. No matter where somebody has moved, there's been another player there ready to pick up that line of sight in that round. Lost positioned themselves very well. SCARZ didn't really do enough to disrupt them. They didn't force them out of any of those positions, and they were able to just pick them up one at a time. Great round from Loss, and that puts them back in the lead, 5-4.
It's very understandable how that round went against them. As we step into a SCARZ timeout, we can talk about it a little bit more. Is that for Lobin up on that top floor, once he was gone, they just assumed, hey, this means that White is clear. We can now push quite comfortably, you know, down past elevators, wrap round and towards site. And the Ying trusted that call, but Dots had already retaken ground by that point, pushed his way down Marble, and just shot the Ying in the back. So that's an example of how small moments of communication, you know, it's clear, then 5 seconds later, it's not clear. I think we once heard the golden rule of only assume information is good for a maximum of 5 seconds. Obviously, the closer to real time you get it, the better, but it doesn't really last very long in a game as fluid as Siege.
No, it doesn't. As you say, you know, constantly things are moving, changing, and you have to adapt to that on the fly. So that's going to be the tactical timeout called in for SCARZ. They're 5-4 down now. One more round for Loss will put them on map point. But honestly, round to round, you have absolutely no idea which way this one is going to go. If we look at our next round, which will be round 10, we're going to be down to lockers, I believe. We saw that back in round 7. It was the first defense for Loss, and SCARZ were actually able to win it. But if you remember, it came down to that very sort of explosive finish at the end. Cameraman is not going to bring along the clash this time, so the defensive setup will be different. I would expect to see them off in the map a little bit more. You've got the Solis, got Meyer on the Legion. I think they'll be the two that will be trying to make it difficult, maybe open the hatch in square, for example, or at least leave it soft, give yourself that option, and just force SCARZ really to play through that, because last time around it came down to the last 30 seconds. They didn't even really have to clear too much of the map. It was just about clearing servers. So for me, pile on more jobs for them.
You say pile on more jobs at this point. SCARZ have just said, yeah, forget about that assignment over there. We're going for a different one. You got Rashoy coming along on the book this time around, changing away from the Ossa. Probably acknowledging that given the setup they've got, as you say, Denal is a really hard part of this round. With the Kaid on side, the Goyo there, you got the Legion goo mines coming in, you got smoke to deal with. Only a single C4 though, and only one set of impacts. It's a pretty big gamble that you wouldn't see the Ossa coming back out again. Otherwise, they'd have exactly the same issues in this round that they had in the previous one in trying to deal with those shields.
SCARZ then starting the clearance, looking to get themselves in through electrical. The question is, do they go upstairs or do they go down? At the minute, Lobin sees somebody up on the rooftop, I think just waiting for an opportunity potentially to hear that drop down near double door. Also knows that somebody could be coming in via copy. Dash manager to pick up Dots. Sorry, Dash manager to pick up Wreck, but not before Fishlight had got Dots. But Lobin taken down in a quick trade by Pion as well. And again, we've just got encounters coming all around the map at the minute, and that's because Lost were willing to play that sort of loose roam game, but with a 3 versus 3, Lost now need to focus on holding on to site, but they've got a long time to hold on with 1:50 left.
They do, but I think, again, you'll be ecstatic here as the defender. Sure, you've lost the smoke in the process, but you got rid of the sledge, so 2 nades offline, and the decay tools have also been removed, at least for any that were remaining. Also, things like the impact EMPs that were in back pocket, if she had any. No, she did not. If she had them, they'd be gone, Tim, but I think it was flashes that she brought along in this round instead. So that Kaid would have really been really strong regardless, outside of the Maverick being able to open up at least a couple of hatches for them to force their way through. At least the Maverick stands alive, still in the form of Fish-like here, so hatches can get opened up.
So SCARZ need to get moving. They don't want to leave it too late. Need to get on with it. Pion's been holding the angle in elevators for a while now, but the time is ticking down. That's about 15-20 seconds since we've seen any sort of realistic movement coming out of this SCARZ side. Dash knew that Pion was inside that elevator, but didn't want to take the challenge head on, as I suggested. With only 3 remaining, I think they will have been keen to just, you know, sort of keep what they've got and get themselves back to site to hold on for this final stage.
I was just about to say he's still got his bulletproof in back pocket, and I'm not quite sure what his game plan is, whether he's forgotten about it entirely or to use it more dynamically when they realise where the attacks are coming from. He's just dropped it behind him so you can see this whole area, also through in towards Vault itself. They will be able to see really the lobby hatch and also elevator as well as the long corridor. So it's a good spot to put it in, but I think he was just waiting to understand where the push was coming from first.
I was just going to say, I think we're going to start seeing those Vulcan canisters popped fairly shortly, and they will burn out a majority of the rest of the round. There's one at the bottom of the main stairs as well. Dash is going to pick up Pion, and this is not looking good as the drop comes in for SCARZ, but Fish-like gets himself really hard, tight up against that reinforcement there. Might have an opportunity to stick this, but no, cameraman's aware. Gets through the rotate and picks up the kill before the diffuser can be planted. That leaves us 6-4 now, and Loss, they look like they could be cruising to level up the mistakes of yesterday and go 1-1 in the Swiss. They just need one more round.
Yeah, 3-1 in this half so far. They're making it look pretty easy, and SCARZ just not troubling them anywhere near enough. Even sat in that 3 versus 3, you know, everything was very focused heavily on servers, and once we had Bashoy trying to push him for a gunfight on that buck, it really kind of told the story that they would at least guarantee a trade, and then suddenly you're left 1 versus 2 as the planter, and we tend to know how those rounds end, unfortunately, Tim. 6-4, one more round, they're done and dusted. SCARZ, they will be 0-2, Tim. Pretty rough first couple of days here in Atlanta.
Yeah, I think SCARZ have still got something in the tank here. It wouldn't surprise me if they grab a round and take us to 12. I think the reason that I say that is up here on the top floor, Loss, for me in that last round, have really sort of benefited from unpredictability. They've, as you've said, eaten away at the utility by picking up a couple of kills. Yes, they've lost a couple of the roamers, but it wasn't the end of the world. They then 3v3, and SCARZ are missing some sort of critical elements that they might need for that attack. So Loss aren't going to be able to benefit necessarily in the same way up here on the top floor. They can't play the roam game in the same way. They can stick around underneath, but SCARZ can largely ignore it if they want to. There's only 1 nitro on side for Loss. It's in the hands of Dash. He's on the Kaid. He's unlikely, you know, to commit too strongly to playing downstairs, I would have thought. So SCARZ, you know, might have an opportunity here.
There we go then, last chance saloon on that top floor. What's it all to come down to? Blitz and the Ying has really been I won't say a staple, but we've seen it float in and out throughout the half. This time they're really going to the Knights to try and get this one done. They've got the Lion and the DKB on side as well, the Juice in from the Finker. Just everything to quite literally throw the kitchen sink at Loss, it feels, on the defensive side. If this can't break through their setup, then really not a lot will, and the game is probably a very deserved 7-4 win for the side of Loss.
Just going to send the nade out to clear the shield. Will do so that's going to make it a little bit more tricky for Dots to hold on to this angle, but he's going absolutely nowhere. He doesn't want to give up that stock corridor just yet, and SCARZ a little bit tentative about pushing on into stock whilst he is still there. A couple of flashes go in, but there's nothing really there to follow it. The E1D is going to support Tayu in getting up these main stairs, and as you say, that's where the push starts coming. Fish-like manages to get Dash, and it's just kills left, right, and centre. They're all going for SCARZ. They leave Lost with a few SCARZ after that one and take us to the 12th round.
Fish-like with what, 3 kills in the round as well? I know it's on the back of the classic globals that we just spoke about so much and used to get so frustrated by. Finker, Lion coming in, you had the Coles coming in from DKB. That's just, everything was there to make that push work. And I think, as you can see, or as you saw, Lost were left reeling a little bit panicked by exactly what was going on. So a good round, and they have the chance to get us through to overtime here, Tim, but it's going to need one more round like that.
Certainly is, and that's the thing for me for SCARZ. If if you said to me what has been SCARZ's biggest problem so far, I think consistency has been the answer. They've had the good ideas, they've had the ability to get in and win gunfights. They just haven't been able to do it consistently round to round to round. Winning 2 or 3 rounds in a row has eluded them at the minute. So having to get another one now, and like I said, I just don't feel like that site really suited. We saw a lot of the kills there at the end coming in, and Lost just weren't mobile. They were just sort of stood still in their position, and I just don't feel that it suited them. They've done better when they've been able to be out on their own, where they've been able to be unpredictable, and SCARZ have had to go to them for the gunfights. Lost then have generally been able to at least pick up a trade as an absolute minimum, if not come out on top. So being in open area this time, I think will suit Lost a little bit better. They should be able to play more extended towards that top floor, and again, just give SCARZ more to worry about.
I mean, you've got the Amaru on side, you've got the Lion on side, you've got the Ying on side. It's very much a rinse, repeat sim. Although really without the KB on side, that's at least one thing being taken away that is very frustrating. It's more the Amaru that I'm excited about. Now, sometimes you do see Amaru brought along just for the fun of it. It's more about the gun, but given Wishoy's current position, he definitely wants to get his way up a hatch here, Tim. There's 2 of them in below, but they need information to make this work, and here we go. Candela's coming in over the top. They're going to try and make this work. Wishoy's in, but he's been dealt with. They had a good read on this one. Myers put him in the dirt, and now with just 2 left. Well, sorry, down 2 bodies. They've got to find their way back in somehow. Helped ever so slightly by Rhett getting rid of Maya.
Yeah, they're going to have to adapt quickly here, because that was obviously the spearhead of the plan, was get the Amaru up the hatch. It was a gamble. It was, throw everything on this one, and it hasn't worked because Lost have killed them all one by one. 3 versus 1 now. Rek has diffuser in hand, but they know exactly where he is. The late trade comes in, and that's going to be Lost taking the game on bank.
A deserved win overall, I think, but one of those games that you look at and probably think there was a few mistakes from both teams there throughout the entire game that suggests knowing the kind of teams that might be coming up against Lost tomorrow, it's going to be a hard challenge for them to win things out. Again, need more improvement before tomorrow. And on the other side of things for SCARZ, well, moments of promise is the summary that I'll give to it, but just not quite enough in the tank to get it over the finish line.
Yeah, that's it. They've had, like you say, they've had the good ideas, they've had the ability to win the gunfights. They just need to show it consistently. More of the best and less of the worst, essentially. Yeah. And they might just be able to get themselves that win that keeps them fighting in this thing. But for the time being, Lost, they got on to 1-1. It was a good win for them. SCARZ certainly didn't make it easy, but that being said, I think there are still improvements that Lost can make.
There are. I think for both teams, that's the story, and no team is ever a complete picture, right? There's always going to be more that you need to see out of any given team for them to really give you that belief that they can go on and win the whole thing. But this was definitely a scrap in the lower bracket, I think, when you compare that to what we saw back in the previous game.
Yeah, definitely. And as I say, as Swiss goes on, that's the beauty of it. We're just going to get these teams more and more evenly matched as we go, and the games are going to get tighter and tighter, which for us means the days get longer and longer, but we don't mind, because it's just the excitement of Swiss.
I mean, yesterday was a real quick day, so we'll see how today ends up concluding, but I hear the desk are ready for us, so let's throw it over there now.
Thanks, boys. That one was way better than day one. We got cameraman up to talk to us about exactly how this bad boy went down. Dude, first off, congrats. That went way better than yesterday. Talk to me about, were the vibes down and were they way better today, or was it right about the same before you started the match?
I think after the LCQ, we came too confident. I think too much, and maybe the preparation wasn't too good. Yesterday we studied the Monkia D+, games from September, and they changed a lot, and we weren't expecting that. So now we were expecting more real stuff, and we played better too.
So you're new to this Lost roster. What have you been brought in to do? What's your objective within the team?
Our first goal is to make to the SI.
Yep.
And of course to lift the trophy. And we know that we are capable of. We were screaming back in Brazil, and we were challenging every team and good screams with them and winning against the best teams. And we know that it's a really strong region. Yep. And of course we are capable of doing that.
So turning your mind to today's game, SCARZ on Bank. What was the thought process behind playing them on Bank, and did they surprise you a little bit?
That's a bit weird, let's say, because we screamed Bank and Night Haven Labs, not yesterday. but the day before.
Yep.
And we knew that like even we lost the scrim 7-5 to them, and we knew that they would pick it because like they won. So we were expecting this map, and we knew what we could improve in the defenses and the attacks as well. Even though it was hard attack, but we could manage.
Obviously a close game, and you've had a lot more close games than these guys have, because when you played on FaZe before, there were tons of circumstances like that. So after you guys lost yesterday, what did you tell your team? Because you've been to so many LANs in the past. Did you give them any advice about how to deal with adversity and being down early?
Yeah, like this is the time to lose. Like after that, it's when we make it to the playoffs. If you lose, you're out. So if you want to lose, if you want to learn stuff, that this is the right time. Of course, we don't want to lose anymore.
Yeah. Last question. Obviously, you're still trying to see if you can't get to the Invitational, and you got to win today, which means hopefully you should be able to bounce up pretty quick. Are you thinking about SI at all right now, or is it just focusing on the immediate future at the major?
I like the mindset of step by step. Like, tomorrow is a new match, is a new opponent, and it's a new game.
Yeah, sounds good. Anything else you want to say to the fans before I let you go?
Where's it? Here?
Yep.
Okay. I want to thank you all. Can I speak?
Go ahead, yeah.
Queria agradecer aí todo mundo aí que tá torcendo pra gente, torcida da Lousa, da Laranja aí. A gente tá melhorando a cada dia. Ontem não foi um dia muito feliz, hoje, graças a Deus, a gente conseguiu aí o resultado que a gente queria, mesmo com um pouco mais de dificuldade do que eu esperava. Mas eu acho que a gente tá muito preparado para terminar aí 3-1 ou 3-2, enfim. O importante é passar para os playoffs. E pode ter certeza que a gente vai chegar muito forte e só evoluir daqui pra frente.
All right, we're going to pretend that you understood everything that you just said, right?
We definitely understood that, yeah.
Awesome. Congrats on the win, dude. We'll see you tomorrow. Obviously, really, really good situation for you guys to find yourselves in. So now you just sit back, wait and figure out who your opponent is tomorrow. And for right now, you just kick back and relax. We'll see you tomorrow, okay?
See ya.
See you.
All right. We'll get Laxing back in here a second, too, to also talk about how this thing went. Much better game, just from a scoreline perspective, and obviously somebody had to win given how weird of a game it was that they played yesterday. But how impressed were you about the performance? Because it was still a tight matchup anyway.
Yeah, I think, what you look at, especially when you're 0-1 down into a stage, is can we get the result over can we get the performance?
Yeah.
Lost got the result today. I think there were sparks of a good performance as well. So they'll be content with themselves going into tomorrow because that was today's objective achieved.
Well, and we also talked about in the beginning that, this is just a game, those games yesterday, they just have to wipe off, come in today. And we talked, I think they pretty much nailed every point that we said that we wanted them to touch on. This was a game that was back and forth. They were really going at each other's weaknesses and their strengths. And, I mean, what more can you want from a game like that and a bounce back? Regardless of even SCARZ losing, you can come back from this and be like, okay, we're clearly playing how we need to be playing. And then I think this is also what we expected from both teams and what we wanted to see.
That's the challenge we set out to both teams. We said to Loss, can you perform if Maya doesn't? And Maya, he had an okay game. He went, I think it was 7-8 in the end, something like that. But Loss still managed to win. And for SCARZ, we said we really need to see Rec on the front foot. What happened? 3K in the very first round. So for both teams, I know even for SCARZ, they kind of lost the game, but there is still positive to take away, which there weren't yesterday.
Los finished out this game on their defensive half, but it was the way that their attacks went that really helped seal the deal based on the way SCARZ were playing their defense. So break a couple of those down for
me. So I've got a couple of clips that we're just going to roll, and it's to do with Loss playing a specific operator. Now, this is going to be Loss playing on the OSA. Now, it's very easy on Bank to try and navigate these kind of, I'm going to call it cheesy, it's not, but using an operator to navigate a plan, because you cannot get this plan off, if you do not have an OSA on the board.
Well, I mean, you just saw
exactly.
wall bangs.
All of the wall bangs blocking the bullets. So we're seeing Dots play on the OSA, and Loss, I thought for their attack half was generally, it was okay. They got a 3-3 attack half, but it was won completely because they played 2 rounds on that cheese operator of the OSA. This was the first round, and then this was the second round. Unconventional plant spots. Planting, at a time that, you haven't cleared all the necessary angles. You haven't gone through the whole process. You've done 70% of the process, but you use the OSA to kind of compensate for that and then get the plant off. And when a game finishes 7-5 and you cheese 2 attack rounds, this was a very close game. And I thought that was one of the key differentials between the two teams, was Lost found a way to get 2 more attack rounds over the line.
And I gotta say, that's what I love about Siege and watching Siege is the diversity in the different regions and how they incorporate certain operators and certain play styles. Because, sure, OSA might be common. When I think in NA, a lot of teams are bringing a Monty, or a lot of teams are bringing a Maru, flying into that window. But you're seeing Los bringing Jeez, in Osa, there's so many names. Bringing in Osa, bringing shields to all these different spots and abusing that, like you were saying, and that those little things, that one operator is securing rounds.
Yes.
And that's just the crazy thing in Seeds when you really think about it, one operator can define an entire map and how it's played.
FaZe were one of those teams that were really incorporating Osa back on Bank back when she first came into the pool, so makes a little bit of sense that we have at least some slight FaZe flares as we see this Los 1 team continue to advance through this bracket. So now they move into the 1-1 games. They still have best of ones to play, but now for SCARZ, the stakes are considerably different. It is do or die every single time. They are out of round lives. They still have one map that they can lose every series, and that's it. If they lose 2 from this point out, they're donezo for this tournament, Jack.
Yeah, pressure's on now. You know, we said yesterday SCARZ were playing without pressure yesterday. They kind of were playing without pressure today, but there are no more chances. And as much as they did a deep run in Copenhagen, as much as they will be at 6 Invitational, this is not how they want to start their journey, considering they're a Phase 2 team. They don't want to play 3 days worth of Siege and then go home.
No, but the thing is, some teams enjoy best of 3s.
Yeah.
Like, we saw that performance. I don't want to write off SCARZ by any means. Like, this is the performance that I wanted to see from them in general and what we even saw in the regional league. They still have a very good shot. They aren't out yet. Sure, their backs are a lot closer to that wall, but best of 3 territory, you do have that chance to lose and then just rebounce back and finish those 2 maps or just close it out in Swift 2-0, do whatever. But regardless, for all these teams here, you got to win it all. It doesn't matter where you find yourself. You got to keep winning.
Yep, you're totally right. And for a couple of teams that come up in game number 3, one of them is going to keep winning, and the other finally has to take their first loss. BDS and Geekay coming up after the break.